Well, Rudy, we are back again. It's good to see you.
Yes, it is. And not only is it good to see you, Joe, we're surviving, right?
We are. Well, we're not
Yes,
just
we are.
surviving, we're thriving.
Yes, because you know what we've learned to do, and this is amazing. I've never worked this Zoom before, or I'm not even good on Facebook. I'm really getting good at this stuff. It's
Yeah.
making me learn this stuff, and I'm getting excited about it. I've been sitting here FaceTiming all my guys. Go to Rise Above with Rudy. You
Yep.
know,
Exactly.
it's fun. I
Yeah.
think it's fun, and I am getting some comments back,
Well,
so
I'll
that's
bet
good.
it gives you an opportunity to connect with people, and
Yeah, yes,
one of the most important. It leads me to our topic today because one of the most important pieces of advice that I've heard you share with people is to not live in regret. So I'm just curious from your perspective, why do you think so many people find it easier to sort of fool themselves into settling rather than believing their dream and that their dream is really worth going after?
because our minds are manipulated by the media, by friends, by movies, and we buy into that goofy stuff.
Yeah.
Period. That's why I like talking to our good friend Wayne Nugent. Good books really helps you.
Yeah, it's all
You
about
know?
taking this time to fill your mind with
Yes,
positivity and to
yes,
educate yourself and to not
yes.
just sit there and binge on the popcorn
Tiger
equivalent
King.
of
Oh,
Netflix and
jeez,
movies and
God.
things.
I can't. I don't understand that. Still don't understand that phenomena.
Yeah. Well,
Why
our
can't they
guest
catch our
today,
podcast, Coach, and
say that again?
get the podcast a phenomena? Why can't they do that?
Well, they
One, you
will.
you can edit this, but my whole point is
Well,
we
our guest
we
today
got
is
a better message.
yeah. Well, our guest today is someone else who didn't want to live in regret, and his story is about second chances. Jim Morris's dream was to become a Major League Baseball player, and he was good. He was originally drafted in 1984 out of college by the Milwaukee Brewers, but his career was derailed by a series of arm injuries before he got out of the minors 4 years later. So Jim put his big league dreams on hold, got his college degree, got married, raised a family, and became a high school science teacher and baseball coach in a small West Texas town called Big Lake. Well, 11 years after retiring from minor league baseball, Jim was giving a speech to his high school team about the importance of dreams and hard work when his high school players challenged him. They challenged him to pursue his own dream of pitching in the major leagues. Well, Jim made a bet with them, and if they won the district championship, he would try out for the majors. Well, the team won the championship, so Jim went for the major league tryout. And even at his age, 35, he had a 98-mile-an-hour fastball. Jim made it. He pitched for the Tampa Bay Devil Rays in 2000 and then the LA Dodgers before retiring from baseball in 2001. But Jim's meteoric rise from 35-year-old high school teacher to flame-throwing major league pitcher in 3 months caught Hollywood's attention. And Disney turned his story into a film called The Rookie, starring Dennis Quaid. Rudy, say hello to Jim Morris.
What an honor, Jim. It really is, and your story is very inspiring. Not only for guys for a second chance type of guy, but for young people, or even the guys who are in kind of like trying to get there. The minor leagues. They think they're too old, but they watch your story. You're never too old. And I always say, wow, what an amazing story. And these are so many similarities to our story, especially your dad and my dad. My dad was very, I call conservative, pragmatic. Tell me about your dad.
All right, I'd like to say conservative or pragmatic. I'm just going to go with abusive because that fits the bill
Okay.
for him.
Wow.
He was in the Navy and we moved constantly. He served on submarines, so both coasts, north, south, everywhere in between. But the one way I could be the kid I was supposed to be was by sports. And in between those lines of a playing field, whether it be football, basketball, baseball, track, it didn't matter. I wanted to be a part of that because I wanted to be a part of something bigger than myself, but I also wanted a way to get out of the house. And if I could get out of the house and play a sport, even if for only 2 hours at a time, I could be the kid I was supposed to be. And I tell people, you know what? He was physically abusive, verbally abusive, and he came up to me one day with my little brother in his arms. And he goes, "This is the one we wanted. We didn't want you."
Wow.
Wow. You know, you weren't wanted.
Wow.
That's awesome.
But I saw also you had redemption with your dad.
I did. You know, through everything we've been through and all that goes along with those relationships, a father-son relationship, whether they be good, bad, or indifferent. The night that I pitched him a big league game at 35, and I was able to hand him the game ball after that game in front of Jose Canseco and Fred McGriff. That was pretty cool.
Wow. Yeah, I met
Can
Jose.
I ask you a question?
I'm sorry.
About programming. You know, Rudy got programming from his father that, you know, Rudigers don't go to Notre Dame. You got programming from your father. Any insights now that you've had the chance to look back on how we can reprogram or deprogram some of those things that were planted in our minds early on?
I think you have to look at everything. With me, it comes down to a lot of faith, and that was instilled by my grandparents. But I think you have to go back and you basically have to unlearn the lies. And you go,
How
that's
do
not
you
my.
do that, though?
You do it by repeatedly telling yourself that it's over. Like in my case, I repeatedly have to forgive him for everything he put me through, and basically give him over to God, because that was the one person who could have cured him.
Yeah.
And go, I'm not forgiving him for him. I'm forgiving him for me. And so I can move on. And when you do that, you feel a lot lighter and you move on. For someone who's in the secular world and doesn't really want to talk about the faith-filled world, let's just look at it like this. You prove yourself and you prove yourself and you prove yourself, and still those voices come in. And then you're like, I don't like those voices. Those voices are wearing me out. They're having me trip up. They're having me misstep, and I'm not taking advantage of everything I could possibly be taken care of. And that's when the self-talk has to come in, and you replace the negative thoughts with positive thoughts. And then, like those kids at Reagan County High School, they thought they were terrible. They told me they were terrible. The parents told me they were terrible. But then I told them how good they were, and I kept telling them how good they were until eventually they believed it. And then to turn it back on me in a mirror, I kept telling myself I'm not worth it. The doctor said you could never pitch again. It's not going to happen. And then a group of kids who I taught a lesson to taught me that lesson. And then I get back and I not only go back to play baseball, but at 35, when I should be retiring, I get my second chance. And so we just have to reprogram the lies.
Your son, what do you think your son has learned from this, you being a father?
I don't know that he's learned a whole lot, Rudy. I think that his biggest takeaway from me would be that I didn't do anything that my dad did to me. And I tell him about their great-grandparents all the time and the lessons they bestowed upon me. And they've heard me in different speeches that I've talked about Ernest, my grandfather, and they know that they were never hit. They were never cursed at. They were never told they were useless or unworthy. I've always built them up, and I've told them they could accomplish anything they want to. I said, now, nothing's free. Nobody's going to hand you anything. And you're not going to go, I have this dream, so therefore I should have it, because it doesn't work that way. You have to want it. You have to plan for it. You have to come up with all these different ways. If I get sidetracked here, what am I going to do there? And you learn how to build into yourself what you know drives you. Like for me, it was athletics.
One of the other similarities that took place, between the two movies, Rudy's, his dream was put back on track because of his friend, dying and inspiring him not to live in regret. While people may know the story, can you share the story of what put you back on track? What pushed you towards your dream again?
It was a group of high school kids who everybody had given up on. And, I can go back earlier than that and go, because of my grandfather's illness with ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, and watched him go through that, and watching my grandmother, the way that she had to change her life in order to take care of him. And all of that changed everything in my dynamic of knowing him as this great, big, powerful man. And then that night in the kitchen, when I looked at him and I said, this is not fair. Why did God do this to you? I used his own faith against him. And he took in some oxygen. He looked at me the best he could. And he said, who do you think you are? I've worked my whole life to get to where I'm going. Where are you headed? That's point number one.
Wow.
He got me turned back around. If he's not going to complain and he's dying quickly, then I have no reason to complain either. The second thing was that group of kids in Big Lake, Texas, who, when I pushed them, they pushed back, and we made each other better. And I think that's a big team dynamic
Yes.
concept, because I've been yelled at, screamed at, and cursed at my whole life. And you know what that did for me? Nothing. It made me not want to talk to those guys ever again.
Correct.
But wanting these kids to be on the same level as me, I was talking to them, not talking at them. And we came together with a plan for each other, for a team. And we executed that plan flawlessly. And when I pushed them, they pushed back. They got me to do something I never, ever, ever would have tried again, because the doctors had told me impossible, it can't be done. But these kids talked me into it. They won. They held up their end of the bargain. And then I had to live up to my end of the bargain. And so I went back and I tried out thinking, this will be hoo-ha, it's funny, I'm fat, I'm old, I'm losing my hair, ha, ha, ha. And then I light up a radar gun for the first time in my life. And those kids were right. So I tell people, you don't know, it doesn't matter how old or young you are. If you have that drive in you and you have the pursuit of a dream in your heart and you want to make that plan and you have the mindset to go out and do it and not give up, we can achieve anything we want to. We just give up too quickly.
You know, Jim, when you ran, I ran out in the field at Notre Dame. I know what I felt. What was your feeling when you got the call to come to the pitcher's mound? Really, paint that picture for us.
Number one, I was in shock because I'd thrown 3 days in a row in the AAA playoffs, and I thought there's absolutely no way they're throwing me again. Right. But I get to the clubhouse in Arlington. I'm in my home state in my favorite ballpark in front of everybody I know and love, including my kids who I've not seen in 3 months, my high school kids who I've not seen in 4, and now let's go do this. And I'm sitting in a bullpen with Roberto Hernandez on one side and all these other pitchers on the big league team talking to me about how to pitch the guys I might face if I get in. And I thought, yeah, there's still no way they're putting me in. So for 8 innings, I said hi and hugged everybody I haven't seen in forever, because Johnny Oates, the opposing manager, God rest his soul, let 150 people in the game that day that had ties to me. I didn't even know they were there. Wow. But even coaches I coached against had gotten school buses, driven their kids 9 hours just to be at that game. And so for 8 innings, I sit in the bullpen talking to these guys and then saying hi to everybody I know and love, hugging my kids. And then they go, okay, get up. 8th inning, get up. Okay. They just want me to warm up in front of 40,000 people. That's cool. I can do that. 2 minutes later, I'm in the game.
You're in the game. Wow.
What was that walk like, Jim? Take us into that. What was that walk like from the bullpen out to the pitcher's mound?
When they finally convinced me that I was going in, I opened the door from the bullpen to run in. And when you start your run in, and Rudy, I know you remember everything about that day, but the colors and the sounds and the smells that go along with your sport, you're picking all that up and your senses are on overload anyway. But as I made the run from the bullpen to the mound, everything I'd been through, good, bad, up, down, bad choices, no choices, good choices, all of it flashed in front of me. And by the time I stepped my spikes onto the dirt of the mound of the ballpark in Arlington, I'd come to one conclusion. I would not change one thing about my journey, because that made me who I am.
Yeah.
And that made me who I was standing there. And I appreciate that guy's been through a lot. And I wasn't just doing this for me anymore. I was doing this for we. We as a team got me to the big leagues. Those kids sitting over there in the stands got me into it as much as anybody else. I did the work, but they did the work beforehand, and they prepped me going, you can do this, you can do this. And I kept going, no way. And then it works.
And of course, the other thing we share both of our stories, they were made into a movie. Wow. You know, I'm happy with Sean Astin, of course, that played Rudy. What about Dennis Quaid? How'd you think?
You know what? He had been wanting that part over and over and over. People kept going, Dennis wants this part. Dennis wants this part. But they kept interviewing other people. And I have to tell you, I got Matthew McConaughey, Jim Caviezel.
Jim Caviezel. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah. Kevin Costner. And the guys on the baseball team already warned me, if you let Costner do another baseball movie, he will hunt you down. And so he was out. But I met all these people, including Jim and his wife, right? And it's Easter weekend, so this may or may not be appropriate. Right. I meet him on an airplane on the way to New York, and he's with his beautiful wife, and he looks at me and he blows me up on the plane so that everybody knew who I was. And he looked at me, he goes, I almost got to play you in that movie. I'm like, and then I recognize him, right? And I'm like, you're Jim Caviezel.
Yeah, he played G. He's a real good friend of mine. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Count of Monte Cristo is mine and my girl's favorite movie.
Yeah.
But as I was sitting there, he goes, I almost got to play you. And I said, dude, you're way too good looking to play me.
Yeah.
Rudy has that same thing with Brad Pitt.
No, Coach. Brad was never. No, I'll tell you what. I picked Sean Astin, just so you know, for your information. I saw him on a movie, Memphis Belle, because of the World War II. My dad was a B-17 on the bomber, and so was Sean. His energy connected because of a movie, Goonies, I watched years earlier. I just picked up on his energy. Now, with Dennis Quaid, I thought it was a great pick, in my opinion. He brought the emotion. He brought everything to the climax, to the crescendo. Did you feel that?
Yeah, he wanted to make me happy. And I'll tell you, I watched the movie twice before it came out in theaters. Okay. I watched it once when Disney said, hey, come watch the movie, we're done. And my wife and I go in and sit down in Burbank and watch this movie that's 3.5 hours long. It is in black and white. Yeah. There is no music. There are sound gaps. And they're like, what do you think? And I'm like, okay. And then not even 2 weeks later, I see the final product in Nashville, Tennessee at a religious national broadcasters convention where they were going to watch the movie, and then I had to get up and talk about it.
Oh, wow.
I had to quit crying before I could get up and talk because I was just blown away by the final. It was just incredible. Dennis did a great job. John Lee Hancock, our director, did a great job. Disney is always, a great job.
Yeah.
And Dennis was just awesome throughout that whole process. The night we won the ESPY Award, they're sending my wife and I to one party, and they're sending Dennis to another party so everybody can make the rounds. And he calls me back and he hugs me. He goes, I just want you to know that you've turned my life around.
That's awesome.
Thought, wow. And that is probably the best compliment out of everything I've done, other than my high school kids thinking me, was the fact that this guy, who already had 50 plus movies under his belt, calls me back, hugs me, and thanks me again. And says,
well, your movie's about a second chance, and it's never too late to pursue your dreams, right? And your new book, Dream Makers, is about your life since the movie. What lessons are you sharing? I guess in that book, even with the now that you got this endorsement from Dennis Quaid, you might have given him a second chance in a way. Is that what your book is kind of encompassing, those messages?
Yes and no. It can be seen in a business aspect, although I'm a next door neighbor who knows nothing about business, talking about how to make public relations go better. And what I do is talk about dream makers are the people you want to see on your team. You want to surround yourself with the best people possible to be the best you can possibly be. And those guys deserve to be on your team. The dream killers, on the other hand, are the people who want to see you fail. They've either tried to do something in their lives or they failed at it. So if they can drag you down, they feel better about themselves. The point is to get rid of all the dream killers, surround yourself with dream makers, and you got a great team. And so this has been a compilation of 20 years of speeches that also talks about 50 surgeries since baseball, since I retired.
Oh, wow.
It talks about our trials through having Parkinson's and the medicine destroying my stomach. So I did deep brain stimulation. That worked perfectly. And then having a group of ladies at church, I call them my girls, but they're actually from 50 to 90. And they've been praying for me. And now I've got this deep brain stimulator in my brain with the power pack on my chest, and I don't use it anymore. And all my symptoms are gone.
Wow.
And
well, you got to thank the two nuns, Coach. You got to thank those two nuns that founded that baseball field for you in Texas.
That's amazing, isn't it? Yeah.
Those two nuns, they invested all their money in this team. They lost it all, but that gave you a dream.
That gave us a dream.
You were talking about building a team and also the process of getting rid of the people that you should be getting rid of. Sometimes that's easier said than done. There might be family ties. There might be business ties. What secret do you have to help people who probably right now are thinking about how to reevaluate the relationships in their lives? What's the secret?
The secret is to putting the people around you that you want around you. I give several different examples in my book. The first one was my father, of course, first dream killer in my life, the person who love me, support me, and bring me up in a way and telling me you can overcome anything if you put in the work. Well, I never got that from him. The second one was my high school counselor who told me I was too stupid to go to college. And then I end up with a degree and I end up going back to play baseball. He ends up working in a movie rental store later in his life, and he's renting a movie about my life to other people. So it all comes back around. My football coach, who taught me it doesn't matter how big, fast, or strong you are. What matters is how much heart you have and what type of plan you have. If you refuse to be beat, you can't be beat. That was the good part of him. The bad part of him was the one who told me, you need to go to college and play football because you're a football player. You're going to go to college and play football, then the NFL, that's your future, and that's what I've decided for you. I'd already been told about how I was going to live the first 18 years of my life. I wasn't listening to someone else tell me how I needed to do it and how I screwed up. Mm-hmm. And so I put him in the same category as my father. I said, well, I'm playing baseball and there's nothing you can do about it. And he called every coach in the country and told them I was going to steal their football scholarship to play baseball. So how do you differentiate? How do you push people away? The people who want to see your dream suffer, the people you don't need around you, they don't need to be in your inner circle. So you look at people, you gauge who they are, and you have to be able to discern how people are going to act and react. So what you do, my wife, I trust her. My kids, I trust them. And their spouses, I trust them. Now my grandbaby, I got her on my team.
Wow.
Because we serve on a lot of different teams, right?
Yeah.
It's not just, oh, you play baseball. It's, okay, I play baseball for this school, so I represent the team, the school, each other, the teachers, the parents, the city, the state. We represent a whole lot more than we think we do. And you can't get rid of every single dream killer, but they don't need to be right next to you 24/7 talking in your ear either. And if you work in a business, you get rid of those people by staying away from them. If you are always positive and you're always looking for ways to further yourself, dream killers don't do that because they don't want to go anywhere else. They enjoy swimming around in their negativity. And so you just leave them alone and let them do that. And you keep the good people with you and you go around getting things done and working hard. It's pretty simple. My deal is, and your deal is, I'm not speaking for Joe Montana or Justin Verlander or LeBron James. I'm talking for the little guy, the guy who failed over and over and over again, who finally got up one day and went, I'm done with this. I'm going to brush myself off, and this time I'm going to succeed. Those are the people I'm talking to. Wow. The 0.5% of the 0.5% of the 0.5%ers that make it on their first try and never have to look back, they're not going to get the point anyway. So why even talk to them? So if somebody says something negative, I don't care. I saw Jose Canseco at a card deal last November, and of all the people I've ever been around, he carried the most baggage with him than anybody I've ever seen, as far as we're going to talk negative here and we're going to be ugly there. And if we can live up to being bad, that's how we're going to do it. And he was the nicest, most positive guy at this card show to me of anybody you've ever seen in your life. And I thought, this is the guy. Wow. This isn't the player who's trying to make a name for himself. This is the guy who's already been there and done that. And so it just gives a different reflection.
Yeah.
Right.
Wow. That's I like that. So you've been through your struggles, health-wise. Yeah.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. Wow. I didn't know that. Wow. What a guy.
Jim, with everyone hunkered at home right now, maybe they've lost their job. Maybe they're feeling alone, powerless. What would Coach Morris have to say to them right now?
First thing is take 20 minutes, feel real bad, be pouty and miserable and do anything you want to, and then get over it and make a plan, get after it and stay with it. You know what? This isn't I lost my job and poor pitiful me. This is, we've lost our jobs. Try being a public speaker and you can't go out in public, right, Rudy?
Oh, shit. I gave the check back on my first speech, just so you know.
Yeah, I've given a couple of those back. But what we try to do is make the best out of any situation we're given at any time. I can complain all I want to, and that's not going to change one thing. I can be worried or I can be concerned. I choose not to worry because I have no control over it. Now, I can be concerned that I haven't spoken a month and now it's probably going to be 2 more.
Yeah.
But now we've got people calling wanting virtual meetings, and so
Nice.
now I've got a whole new thing to panic about.
Yeah,
Like I've never
there you
done
go.
that before, and how are we going to do that?
Wow.
And so you got to stretch yourself as you're doing things, but just realize we don't know what the new normal is until all this is over with.
That's true. And I think you're reinventing yourself too in a way that you never thought you would.
Oh, I'm stretching myself. First of all, the kid who grew up with a father who said children to be seen and not heard, to eventually
Right.
become a teacher and then a motivational speaker is
Yeah.
unheard of. And now I guess God's going, you thought that was it, huh? I'm going to stretch you some more. How about we
Yeah,
do this
yeah.
on a computer where you can't move and talk like a teacher?
Yeah,
How about
yeah,
that?
yeah.
So you have to sit still and talk.
But
So
you were a
here you
Major
go
League
again.
Baseball player, brother. That's huge. You got to do it where most guys gave up. Literally gave up. You know, I was telling my nephew, he's double A, right? He said, "Oh, this is rough. I've been here 6 years. I'm getting too old." I said, "Watch the rookie, brother. Keep watching the rookie." He says, "Well, that's not me." You know, those guys already given up the dream. But if you show it to a
Well,
guy, yeah, that really still wants it, he will be inspired by your story.
yeah, and those that don't keep making
Yeah.
excuses for why they're failing.
Yes, and that's what I see every day. You know, I know your first speech was interesting, and mine was too. I'll never forget giving it, and I said, "Dude, you don't need to pay me, man." I said, "I felt worse than you did," you know, because I've never given a speech before, and I don't know how to do it. But now, as we go through it, as you know, schooling is so much different than the classroom. Getting real hands-on training, how to speak from your heart, how to speak the messages differently. And that's where you come in. That's why I love how you talk and your story's real. Hollywood put it in a different twist sometimes, but that's okay. It's more about the message, and that's how I looked at Rudy as well.
I think it's a great thing because still, even people I talk to now, what have they done since they've been encased in their homes?
Yeah,
They've watched
right.
Rudy. They've watched The Rookie.
Yeah,
They've watched Remember the Titans and
right.
everything else that goes along with that. You know why? Because they're great movies with a great message that
Great
are family
message.
oriented.
Yes. And it's true, the dynamics of the father is so important, and you overcame that. Then you had that redemption moment. That is when I cried in your movie, too.
Yeah.
That moment. And when you had that moment with your father. Because my father, his redemption moment when I got out of the Navy, out of boot camp. Notre Dame was okay, but boy, that moment, going in the Navy, coming out, you were a man to him. And I saw your father, who was in the Navy, who came to you in a different light. Wow, what a wonderful moment that was to me.
Hey, Jim,
Yes.
in the minute or two that we've got left, do you still love the game?
I absolutely love the game. Now, if you ask me who my favorite team is, I can't tell you anymore because I'll get in trouble because we're not supposed to like them right now. We're playing hate on them. But you know what? Everybody makes mistakes and everybody tries to get an advantage, and they'll come over this. Baseball's seen us through our entire democracy. We'll continue to do so. Football's going to keep being big because it is big, and we need those things for us people who can't play the game.
Yeah.
And we want to watch a great game, and we want to support somebody and something bigger than we are, and we have those to cheer for in those games and those people and those sports. And that has seen this country come through a lot. Now, when you take away your jobs and you take away your sports and you go, you're going to spend the next 2 months with your family indoors and you can't go out,
Right.
you got to come up with other stuff to do. It's helping us reconnect. It's helping us cook and bake again. It's helping us go for walks with our kids. Game night has become game week, and we're
Yes.
doing things that we wouldn't normally do because we're being forced to slow down all of a sudden.
Yes.
And so when we realize what is important to us and to everybody else, you want to push that agenda because you want to keep going. I want kids to play outside again. I want people to have a good time, but I want them to do it with each other and not doing it by being apart.
Right.
We're in this together. Let's be in this together.
Yeah.
Excellent. Are there any
message.
life lessons? I mean, when you look at baseball, can you make sort of a metaphor? Is there a life metaphor out of baseball?
Man, game of inches comes to mind. It's always a game of inches. It's 2 inches inside the line. It's safe. If it's 2 inches outside the line, it's foul, and they both could be a game-winning hit, but only one counts and one doesn't. It's basically the same with life. We're going to take a shot at something. We're going to come up a little bit short, but on our way to that dream, we may find another dream we didn't even know we were dreaming
That's
until
true.
then.
That's so true.
It's all about how you look at it.
That is so true. That's a great way of putting it.
Wonderful. Jim, thank you so much. We really appreciate you taking time with us today. And
coming back, Joe.
yeah.
What a man. I love
we
him.
don't have to talk about that, Rudy. We'll
Right.
just leave that in the back. But and good luck with the new book too.
It's going to be a
Absolutely.
great
Thank you,
book,
guys.
great journey, Jim.
Yeah.
What an honor. And Jim Caviezel, I text him. I says, I'm talking to Jim Morris. He said, you were too good looking to play. He goes, really?
He's awesome, man.
He's awesome.
You know, I tell crowds now, Rudy, before you go, is after I talk about meeting him and telling him how good looking he was, I'm like, 2 years later, he ends up playing Jesus. And I'm
Right.
like, man,
Yeah.
if you're going to have somebody play you,
You should have Jesus.
play
What a great human being he is. And so are you and
Yeah,
your
Jim.
family. And
Oh,
tell
thank
your son and daughter, too, well, congratulations. And what an honor to even talk to Jim Morris.
Wow, Rudy, that was really inspiring.
Yeah, and you know the thing I picked up, he really locked into his faith.
Yeah.
It really gave him the spirit to move on, move forward, and live in the moment, and don't live in the past. And also forgiveness. He forgave, which was very important. He talked about.
Yeah.
He forgave and eliminated the anger in his life. He got to move forward, and he got to redeem. Had a redemption moment with his father.
Yeah, can you
Awesome.
imagine handing
That's what
that
stuck
baseball?
out in my mind. Yes.
Yeah.
His
That's
dad was
incredible.
military all the way and moved many different times, Navy. So it was hard on Jim after he
Yeah.
was getting used to his buddies in high school to play. Then they had to move.
And I think it's interesting, too, how after the movie, he really took stock in his life and knew that he had to make a conscious effort to build a team, another team, you know, a team of people that, you know, he could support and that could support him. And at the same time, eliminate those people who were negative. And
Yeah.
we all have to do that as hard as it is. We have
We
to
have to do that. Otherwise, you'll be living in that moment of doubt. Why do you want to live like that?
Yeah.
And hey, we can all do it. It's just a mindset. It's a decision. So let's make a good decision, as he suggests. Make that good. It's going to be hard. It's not going to be an easy road. He also talked about how tough that road would be, but it was worth it.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We look forward to sharing your story. And you can write us. You can write to Rudy directly. Send your story, send your comments to Rudy at riseabovewithrudy.com. And please leave us a nice comment. Some people have, and it's been really heartwarming for us to see these good comments. So, and hit that subscribe button. Really, that subscribe button makes a difference, and it helps us get the word out about the podcast. And we need positivity now more than ever. So stay well, stay positive, and we'll see you here next time.
Talk to you guys soon.